all, and welcome to tonight's beer review, which I am dubbing the meaty beer review. Why is it dubbed the meaty beer review? Because, dish is hot. I have a big plate of meat, leftover meat from New Year's. Got some barbecue chicken right here, and some Chinese pork, which I heated up in the microwave, hence a hot plate. And you may ask, well, why do you have a bowl of meat next to you for this review? That is because I am reviewing a special beer. Those of you on my Facebook feed, yeah, I'm the only social media that I cultivate outside of YouTube. No, I've already made a mention of this. This is Deschutes Sagefight Imperial IPA. Now, this is the one that I mentioned earlier, sold out almost immediately, and then amazingly it reappeared. So, I went and picked up a 6-pack as soon as I saw it. Why? Because, it sounded really, really interesting. This is an This is an Imperial IPA, so ABV is 8.0, and it's also fairly hoppy, 75 IBUs. So let's read the label, shall we? Profile: citrusy hops go head-to-head with resinous sage and juniper berries in a flavor battle royale. So this has sage and juniper as additions. Now, sage is not a traditional beer additive. Juniper is in Finland, where sahti is a type of beer that is brewed with juniper berry. But this itself is quite different and quite interesting. And you'll see why I have it paired with meat here as we go and pour this out. As usual with Deschutes, gotta be careful because you don't want the bottom yeast getting in there. You still want that lovely, lovely head. That's pretty good right there. Only about half an inch left in the bottom there. Which I'll probably drink anyway because I like it. But I don't want it to, alter this review a little bit. So we have a sort of amber brown color here. Slightly cloudy from the live yeast. With a light beige head, somewhat thick, very carbonated for an Imperial IPA, though you can't really see it because of the low grade of my camera here. Very interesting smells. For the hops, obviously, goes much more towards the piney side. None of this tropical juice bomb here. Lots of piney hops. That combines very, very well with the juniper berry. You sort of smell that sort of juniper smell. It's kind of difficult to quantify or to explain. You'll know it if you've ever had gin before. It just meshes so well with that piney resin smell. There's also a hint of savory sage in there. This is the nose at least. And the malts are well hidden, but forming a nice foundation of breadiness, dry breadiness, almost towards crackeriness. Only a very slight sweet smell here. Small citrus notes, mostly of that pithy rind style. But let's get to the tasting, shall we? Here's where it's really interesting. First thing that hits you, sage. Sage is the top note on your palate there. It's what immediately engages your taste buds. And back here, we're also tasting that sage. So while juniper is actually much more apparent in the nose, in the bouquet, on your palate, it is much more sage. There's still some nice juniper there to kind of round it out, especially on the sides. And throughout, there's very thick, resinous sort of hopping. But hopping notes are kind of, they're playing a second fiddle to that sage and juniper there. But they are obviously still quite intense. It's fairly thick on the palate, but nowhere near oily or sticky or syrupy. And what gets me is that the hopping combines with the sage to create a very dry drinking experience, even though you know, your tongue is still detecting that residual sugar. You know, that the oils from the hops combined with that sage just creates this very dry taste in the mouth, almost brut taste in the mouth. It's very good to inhale while you're sipping this down, because, you know, the contrast in between the strong showing of the juniper in the nose and the extremely strong showing of the sage in the palate is quite a nice contrast there. Hops are definitely piney, definitely resinous. A little bit of that pithiness. Not too many details out of the hops. Like I said, they're kind of providing a sort of backbone for the additives to kind of really, you know, create new dimensions for themselves. This is a very strong tasting beer. It is not really one that you're going to be wanting to, you know, well, it's also strong in alcohol too, so it's not really one you're going to want to be, you know, just having by itself. But I found it goes remarkably well with meat. Particularly rich, fatty meat. Now, ideally, I'd like some lamb with sage here, but failing that, you know, I'm not rich, and my family is not rich, we don't have lamb for New Year's. So, I'm making do with pork and chicken. And that dryness, it just cuts right through that grease. It adds this very aromatic, distinctive note on your palate, you know, that, you know, adds to and creates this great interplay with the meat. You know, and this is definitely a beer worth pairing, and I say this quite, you know, this is a very amazing thing for me because I've always found IPAs to be extraordinarily difficult to pair with foods. But the addition of juniper, and especially the sage here, as well as, you know, creating a high enough amount of hopping, you know, get the IBU level up there, it just goes so well with me. It's quite striking. And I think a lot of it has to do with the, you know, sage being something that's particularly added to, you know, rich fatty meats as a cooking spice. It truly is a very interesting beer, and I have no idea whether, and it doesn't say it's a seasonal or a one-off. I looked at the reviews. It looks like it might possibly be just a one-off. If that is the case, and if, you know, IPAs and Imperial IPAs / double IPAs are in your wheelhouse, this is one that you're definitely going to want to go for. You know, if just by itself, you know, having a single bottle by itself, or like how I'm doing, and having it with, paired with meat. And, you know, it just kind of goes to go and show you the brewer's art. Deschutes is definitely one of the better, larger breweries out there, larger craft breweries out there. Up there with Sam Adams and Sierra Nevada, you know, putting out interesting things that reach all corners of the nation. I think Fat Tire would probably fit into there too, but I don't really have as much experience with Fat Tire beers as I do with Sam Adams and Sierra Nevada. So I'm kind of digressing here. What does this mean? Well, go out and get this while you can. Don't know if it's just a one-off. I hope it's not just a one-off. I hope they turn it into a seasonal offering, because it is just a very unique and very well-made beer. So I am going to go and finish this beer while eating this meat, and maybe even have another one, because this is, you know, the night where I have to go and switch my internal clock over from swing shift to graveyard shift. So basically I have to force myself to sleep until about noon. I try to sleep until 2, but I usually only make it until noon, because I gotta work from 11 o'clock to 7 a.m. Tomorrow. So that's your beer review for tonight, folks. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you go out and, you know, and try this too. This has been, you know, first time in quite a few reviews that I've been quite legitly blown away. You know, maybe if I had more money, I'd have more blown away experiences. Oh, did I mention that this is ridiculously cheap? Like, I believe it was under $12 for a sixer. That's quite good for an Imperial IPA. So go out and get some if you can find it. Well, folks, that's your beer review for tonight. And cheers.